of us can kind of go back to that one moment, I think, when it dawned on us that this was something very serious. And for me, it was standing outside of the Performing Arts Center, knowing that that was going to open within days, watching a college basketball game, getting ready to move over to the Coliseum and watch a little ACC basketball tournament, and watching it on the screen get canceled right in front of our eyes. There were a lot of businesses in our community that were going to hurt because of that one particular instance, that one particular cancellation, right? Restaurants and hotels, and all I could think of were these restaurants that were full of food, right, in their freezers, ready to serve an incredible basketball population. And so I think one of the first things I did was grab the microphone at that event and encourage people to get takeout, to go to their restaurants that weekend and eat and get takeout and that sort of thing. And that was before any of us realized that we were going to need these things for a while as well. And so immediately that weekend, we started talking internally as a chamber team and with some of our great advisors about things were going to come at us fast.
Friday the 13th was our practice remote learning day, and then beginning on Monday the 16th of March, we were all at home.
We decided we would have these chamber action calls. At that point, I don't think we called them daily, but they wound up being daily.
Well, I remember being at my table, which is my home office, and suddenly realizing that not only was I getting emails, phone calls, text messages from companies, and responding to each one accordingly, I quickly realized that what I needed to do was to get ahead of these companies' needs and concerns, and to gather any information I could about local, state, and otherwise regulations, rules, COVID-related information, and get that out to the companies as quickly as I could before they even had a chance to wonder or to think about it.
And we started making calls internally and with some of our advisors outside of the organization, knowing that we're walking into a situation that is incredibly unknown for everyone. And we all know as business, we crave stability, we crave predictability, we crave the opportunity to plan. And knowing that at least for the next week or two, little did we know how much longer it was going to be, but at least for the next week or two, man, we didn't really know what was going to happen.
Suddenly to be at home in my home with many needs and many concerns and a lot of attention I needed to give not only to my job, which has always been important, but specifically then I felt the pull that action had to happen now.
This first chamber daily action call that I'll remember, we had Scott Baker on, who's a local banker, and his message was, look, whether I'm your banker or if somebody else is your banker, you need to know your banker right now. Because all sorts of things are going to change financially for you as a business owner or manager.
We realized and obviously saw very clearly and very quickly that our community members were hurting now in, life and death situations.
I am getting emails, I'm getting texts, I'm getting phone calls around essential workers, around questions regarding our local regulations and rules, around state regulations and rules, and how they affect the workforce at our manufacturing plants and our distribution centers. Do our workers have to have specific paperwork in order to travel the roads when we're supposed to be at home? Do our workers need specific testing before they enter facilities, such as temperature screening? Do we need to have certain precautions in place in our plants to protect COVID from spreading?
People were not able to pay their rent because they lost jobs. People need to get testing. People needed PPE. People needed food. And so that's when we pivoted to provide services that we've never provided before, which is rent support and grocery gift cards and food support and cleaning supplies and PPE.
On a regular basis, we talked about PPP. Shoot, we even had one where we talked to businesses about how to sanitize their businesses. Little did I ever think that we would have an entire call based on teaching people how to sanitize surfaces in their businesses. But that's the kind of information that was coming on a very quick basis that we had to get out to everyone.
So we had the automotive industry shut down, then we had our appliance industry follow shortly after and shut down. Seemed like everything was coming to a screeching halt fairly quickly.
In March, it started to slow down. However, by May, BMW closed all of their global plants that produce X3 and X4. So all of the parts that we shipped to Germany, China, Russia, and South Africa were closed for a month.
When the pandemic first struck and word got out that we had PPE shortages, we had volunteers from all over the community asking how they could help us. We had people making masks, making face shields, and asking how they could help solve that shortage for us.
We're not really used to having to ask for help per se. We're surrounded by people who are experts in their field. They're the helpers, the providers, and all of a sudden that changed. And the reason that it changed is we had the supplies that we needed. We didn't have them in the quantity that we needed overnight. So if you think about the mask, just the simple mask, we went from needing 1,000 a day to needing 7,000 a day pretty quickly. And so although we were getting offers for assistance, some of the things weren't exactly what we needed. And so we started to reverse the thinking, who can help us find the things that we need?
Inadvertently got thrown in the middle of somebody who thought he could make masks and somebody who was saying, hey, we needed masks. I really just thought this was a very solvable problem.
We said, we can figure out how to make these masks. And the hospital was super supportive. Seth jumped in and said, hey, I want to help out. He generously offered to pay a large portion of our labor cost. So it became a community effort quickly. And it was exciting. And it kept, everybody was excited about it and motivated. And it was a way to keep people employed too. We started with an initial kind of what we call a crisis mask version that wasn't all that beautiful, but it got the job done.
They took what was a very simple mask and they expanded. They invested in machinery, they invested in supplies, they invested in research and technology, and started to build an even better mask, create a better mask, mass producing it, eliminating some of the handwork that needed to be done. And now we have a mask company in Greensboro that is a vendor to Cone Health.
So we were not making any PPE or face shields. That really was not in the business model this spring. But several customers came to us and asked could we provide PPE, for example, face shields. Usually it takes us about 8 weeks to design a mold and have a mold ready for production, but we actually did this in 2 weeks. Which is kind of unheard of, especially in the United States. We've never done that in the past, and I would say there's not many U.S. companies that can turn like that or pivot that quickly.
So I had got a call, we talked to Terry about doing something, to help out in the community, to help out Cone Health, and what we were all going to do together. And then in addition to that, I had gotten a call from Washington, D.C., and from the White House on was there an opportunity for Contour Brands to step up and do some things to help, at that time, New York City, which was being stricken in a really significant way.
So we started talking internally, what could we do to help with the pandemic? And got connected with Cone Health and started talking.
We were literally designing gowns on WebEx, holding up the gowns that we normally use, and they were asking us how would it be better. They were, we had a very simple plastic gown, and they were going to create us a gown made out of fabric from, our local vendor here. And they had to sew them very different. We had to make them so that they could be removed really easily. So in that case, it wasn't, the relationships were there, but it was the technical work that we needed to do. As you can imagine, gowns, we needed lots of different sizes. And the way that the gown fits you actually impacts its ability to protect you. So it wasn't like, oh, just grab a different size and make it work. It needed to fit right.
We quickly put together the small team of my expertise and the manufacturing team, and worked closely with our Greensboro partners to start developing the gowns. And that's really when the project gained a lot of momentum, and how we quickly took a small team and our contours expertise with our own manufacturing, and was able to quickly pivot into specifically designed gowns for Cone.
We were able to make these changes to gowns in days and have prototypes that they could try on, and them give us the thumbs up, hey, yeah, this is going to work, this is what we want.
Because we had this shared mission, this shared goal to keep people alive, which made it very simple. It was very simple that if there was a way, we were going to make it happen. Not only was it one-to-one relationships, but it was really like one-to-two, I know somebody who knows somebody. Because we had this shared mission, all of the obstacles of building relationships really became much easier.
The reason we were able to move so quickly is that we were able to make personal phone calls really quickly to different folks from a leadership standpoint and get decisions made super quick. And that helped us to move really fast to be able to get the product to the hospitals really quickly so that people were safe.
In a kind of a dark, stressful time, working on these kind of projects, giving people the opportunity to help and feel like they're a part of something important. I know our employees had a great sense of pride that they were part of the effort. So there's a little bit of happiness even in the dark time there, a little bit of joy of people getting to be able to work as a team and for a common goal,
Everyone here realizes the deep connection that we have with the community. We understand how fragile life can be and how quickly it can change in a minute. In a way, I think before the pandemic hit, we all were just going along in our usual routine, and we thought it would always be that way. And no one believes that anymore. We know that it can change so quickly.
I think we all knew what an incredible business community we had, but to see these businesses step up, to see them raise their hand and say, what can I do? What do I need to be doing to make sure that our community, our state, our country stays healthy, fights this pandemic in the best way that we possibly can? That's just, that reinforces what we all knew what was there, but also just speaks to, and when we talk about businesses are just collectives of people, and so these businesses really, when we say businesses, it's really the people that run them and manage them and work in them, and those people were focused on the community.